This conference will now be recorded.
I'd like to call to order the November 1st, 2021 regular council meeting to order at 7 p.m. Meeting called to order. Are there any additions or corrections to tonight's agenda?
I got one, Mayor.
Go ahead, Councilor Allen.
I'd like to add a brief discussion on Vernonia Pioneer Museum.
Okay. Well, looks like we can include that just fine in new business, JR.
Okay, thank you.
Any other additions or corrections? Stephanie, you're muted.
I was just adding it to the agenda.
Would anyone like to make a motion to accept the tonight's agenda with the one addition of the county museum discussion? Councilor Webb.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of new business A, county museum discussion.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilor Allen. Would you call the roll, please, Stephanie?
Councilor Norman?
Aye.
Councilor Allen?
Aye.
Mayor Moore?
Aye.
And Councilor Webb?
All right.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Stephanie. Are there any presentations tonight? No presentations. Mayor's report. I just have one quick comment, and I think I'll save it for the city town hall meeting minutes discussion. So I don't have any other to report tonight. So are there any council or committee meeting reports? Go ahead, Dale.
Okay. The Public Works Committee finally met again, but unfortunately we didn't have a quorum at our meeting. So we just kind of got to know Mrs. Parrott and just kind of briefly talked to her, kind of what our role is as a committee and stuff. So that's all we had.
Okay.
She's going to be a real asset to that committee. She is very knowledgeable on some of the things that we're doing. She knows about handicap ramps. So
Well, thank you, Dale. Any other committee reports tonight? Okay, I guess none. Any topics from the floor tonight, Stephanie?
I have one.
Okay.
This is from an email from Aaron Milstein. Says Aaron Milstein requests for a waiver of remonstrance for sidewalks and street improvements on First Avenue between Cougar Street and Maple Street. Number 1, construction of sidewalks is not feasible, nor is it necessary at this time. Number 2, all properties on each side of lot lines are fully developed, none of which have sidewalks. At this time, we cannot afford the $20,300 fee on top of the standard SDCs, utilities and permitting fees. It was not budgeted, and the construction of sidewalks is again not necessary at this time. Thank you for your time, Aaron Milstein. So staff would like to request that council wait to discuss this, and we will bring a report to the next meeting because it will correlate with other items we are bringing to you at that council meeting.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time hearing you, but did you say $20,000 fee?
Correct.
Where did that number come from?
Again, I would like to present this at the next council meeting.
Okay,
Yeah, I agree. It needs to be a formal request, not a topic from the floor. So request. So we need it in writing to the council.
It will correlate with other information staff is bringing forward to council on the 15th.
Yeah, I couldn't understand you very well, Stephanie. Is there anything you can do to improve your audio? Because I couldn't even tell, I couldn't even figure out where you were talking about in the city.
First Avenue?
First?
First.
Okay. I guess I'll just wait till the next council meeting or next back and look at it.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Consent agenda for acceptance. Public Works Committee meeting minutes, July 2021. Go ahead, JR.
yeah, who writes that report?
That'd be Mr. Tice.
Because I looked it over and there was, I don't know, there was so many spelling and letters and
Yeah.
stuff. I was just wondering if it was like a audio thing or something converted, because anyway, I just wanted to see if there had been a change.
Any
It's
other
pretty short.
discussion about that meeting, other than the misspelled words?
Well, it wasn't misspelled. There was just letters missing and stuff too, or, so.
Yeah.
I was just kind of curious if there had been some kind of change on how they do it, because I'd never seen one quite like that one before.
I think we're just grateful that someone's willing to take the minutes.
And again, I can't hear you. I'm sorry.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, maybe you get a little closer to the mic might help.
It's next to my mouth.
Oh, that's the problem. That thing maybe.
So I said, I think we are just happy that someone is willing to take the minutes.
Oh, well, yeah, I was just wondering if there'd been a computer, like you talk to it and it prints it out type of thing, because some of it wasn't quite jiving with me when I first read it. And then I noticed there was just some letters missing and stuff. I just wonder if we had a change.
We had a change a long time ago, but we just haven't had very many meetings.
Right. Okay. Well,
Then
not trying to be the grammar police. I was just kind of like, something's going on here.
Consent agenda for approval, City Council Town Hall meeting minutes, October 23rd, 2021.
Rick, did you want to ask for a motion to accept the Public Works meeting minutes?
Yeah, I was gonna, along with the town hall meeting minutes, but I could do that first. So, anyone make a motion to accept the Public Works Committee meetings for July 2021?
so moved, Mr. Mayor.
So moved. Is there a second?
I'll second it, Mr. Norman.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. Would you call the roll, please, Stephanie?
Councilor Webb,
Aye.
Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Councilor Allen,
All right.
Councilor Norman,
Aye.
motion carried.
Thank you, Stephanie. Consent agenda for approval. City Council Town Hall meeting minutes for October 23rd, 2021. I woke up that morning and I couldn't even hardly stand up, and I apologize. I really wanted to be there, and to participate with the citizens of Vernonia, and I just couldn't do it. So thank you, Dale, for kind of leading that that town hall meeting for me, and others involved, and thank Josette for going out of her way to get the donuts and the coffee, and I heard it was a pretty good turnout, mostly adults, a lot of good discussions. So anyway, thanks to all that were involved with that on that Saturday morning, and maybe it was a beginning to help heal our community a little bit. So thank you very much. Anyone like to make a motion to accept those town hall meeting minutes?
I'll make a motion that we accept the town hall meeting minutes as written.
Thank you, JR. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Will second.
All right, it's been seconded by, I think, Counselor Webb first. Would you call the roll, please, Stephanie?
Counselor Webb,
Aye.
Counselor Allen,
Aye.
Counselor Normand,
Aye.
Mayor Hobart.
Aye.
Motion carried. And I would like to mention a special thanks to Donna Webb for taking notes during the meeting. Thank you.
Yep.
The siren cut you totally off.
Well, it's kind of appropriate because we're going to move right into unfinished business, police department staffing. Motion of decision. Chief Connor, welcome.
I believe this is me. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay.
Can hear you
Yes.
just fine.
Well, for this is follow up from our meeting last Monday, and staff is looking for a motion or direction to move forward in hiring the 4th police officer position.
Any other discussion about the desire of the police chief to put out an application for hiring a 4th full-time employee?
I think we've pretty well discussed it.
Yep.
I think we had consensus to move forward. And I think we have enough time there that the other issue hopefully will resolve before we would actually get to where we would get to the point and need to hire the 4th officer. So I'm okay with it.
I think we're looking for a motion at this particular time, Council.
I'll make that motion, Mayor. I'll make a motion that we move forward with the hire of another police officer and direct staff to our Chief Connor to post the job and immediately.
Thank you, Councilor Allen, for that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Councilor Webb. You call the roll, please, Stephanie.
Counselor Normand,
Nay.
Counselor Allen,
Aye.
Counselor Webb,
Aye.
Mayor Hobart.
Aye.
Motion carried.
Thank you, Stephanie. Moving right into new business, museum discussion, JR. Moving right into new business, museum discussion, JR.
I got a weird echo. Sorry, Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. The other day I was reached out to Margaret on our city-owned museum, county run. And we had a discussion about the back wall on that museum rotting away. And with all this money floating around, I thought it'd be a good partnership for the city and the county to get that back wall rebuilt and fixed. The way I understand it, the city still owns the building, which I wasn't sure we did, but I was assured that we do. It is on the National Historic Registry for Craftsman Style House mill office, one of the few left in around the States, I guess. I don't know if I was aware of that. I read that online. I hope that's accurate. But anyway, I think this is an opportunity to preserve our history. We've got some money floating around now. It's probably a good time to do it. I'd like council's agreement to maybe look into an estimate, see how much it would be, and think about it for a week or 2 or 3 or whatever. And because if we don't, we're gonna have 5,000 pieces of our history in there. The building's gonna crumble apart. So I was reading back in the 60s when 25 people of Vernonia got together to decide what to do with that building, and it was supposed to be something for the good of the community. And they were actually talking about being a library museum combo, but I guess the library part didn't work out. So anyway, after talking to Margaret, wasn't sure what was going to happen. And a couple of days later, Riley called me from General Services and said that he thought it was a great idea and they thought they could come up with some money for it also. So that's about all I know. But I had looked at the wall 2 or 3 years ago, and it's water infiltration and rot, and all the shingles got to come off and probably redo the windows. And it's on that back side if anybody wants to go look at it. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, JR. How would you like to proceed with this? Go ahead, Dale.
No, that's a great idea, JR. I wasn't aware the back wall was deteriorating, so I definitely agree with you. We need to preserve that building, and so we need to probably direct staff to move forward with exploring the costs and what the issues are with that building.
Yeah, I agree. Stephanie, do you want to just mark this down and bring it to our next meeting?
Probably a motion directing staff to explore fixes for the building and to bring forward a report once those estimates are received.
So do we want to put out like 3 bids for, or
No,
a contract to look at it?
all council will be doing is directing staff to move forward with finding
Okay.
an estimate of the fixes, and we'll bring it back
Okay.
to you with the cost. With more information on the project.
JR, would you like to make a motion?
Sure, I would. But I was wondering if it'd be helpful if we did a little bit more legwork for staff, since they seem to be swamped with other projects. I'm not trying to load them up with more when I'd be more than willing to help show it to some people and get a rough estimate before we get too excited.
Yeah, we're going to have to make a motion tonight to go forth in that process, JR. It's the only thing Stephanie's saying.
I think this would be an excellent task for the finance officer to take over. It's money.
All right, I'll make a motion that we direct staff to get a cost estimate on fixing the back wall of the Vernonia Museum.
So moved. Is there a second?
Counselor Norman will second it.
Thank you, Counselor Norman.
Can I ask a question?
Yes. Go ahead.
From what I always believed and what I'm looking at now at the assessor's office, I don't know that we actually own the building. We own the land. So if we do in fact not own the building, are you guys still wanting the city to look into the fix?
Well, I do because it sits in Vernonia and it's got all of our history in it, but I was assured by the county that we still own the building. But I know I've been told before the county owned it, but they say they just operate it.
Yeah, I don't know.
They
Yeah,
could
from
be
what I can
wrong.
see,
I was
I only see the land.
talking to Riley over there at General Services, so that's all I know he
Okay,
said.
I can definitely do some more digging.
Counselor Norman.
I think we need to find out who is more directly ownership on it before we really can move forward.
Yeah, I'll do that. I'll work on that. Yeah. If it's ours, we'll have a deed or something somewhere.
I still think even if the county owns it, we might have to put a little bit in to get it taken care of before we lose the whole building.
Yeah, it was pretty bad 3-4 years ago when I looked at it. I think Toby showed it to me, I don't know, 3 years ago, maybe 3.5 years ago. And even Margaret's looked at it. Just, I don't know if anybody had the will or the money or whatever, but it hasn't got done.
Okay, there was a motion made and seconded. Would you call the roll, please, Stephanie?
Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Donald Norman. Sorry, Counselor Norman.
Aye.
Counselor Allen,
Aye.
Counselor Webb,
Aye.
motion carried.
Thank you, JR.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Business from the departments. Chief Connor.
I have no official staff report tonight. It'll be at the next meeting, and then I'll give you guys an update on the hiring process at that.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Any other departments? If not, we'll move right into ordinances and resolutions. Resolution 2021-20. Waiving standard enterprise zone tax abatement for Cascade Tissue. And we have Mr. Paul Vogel with us tonight. To discuss or talk about this this resolution. Welcome, Paul. You're still muted. There you go.
How about now?
Good.
I had to dial in, so I'm worried about the echo effect. Let me try this without. Okay, can you? How about now? How about now?
Very good. Yep. Go ahead, Paul.
Okay. I'm hoping this will hold. I really apologize. I'm trying to find the right spot. I'll make it quick. So you may recall, this is the same property tax abatement that this council and the other zone sponsors approved in December of 2020 and January of 2021. This was for a $14 million investment in 2 new production lines at the Cascades Mill plant in Scappoose. They've made the investment. They are paying 150 of covered annual requirement is that they increase employment by 10% of their overall employment in the enterprise zone. That was 21 people. They haven't been able to get to 21 people because they haven't gone into full production. And the reason is that both of these machines produce out-of-home products, commercial paper towels, products for office buildings, manufacturing, other places that people haven't really gone back to work, restaurants. So it's not in-home stuff, it's out-of-home stuff. They're about 521,000 cases short of projections, about 22% short of revenue on this, and they haven't been able to go into full production because
You dropped out again, Paul.
$343, which provides a 2-year waiver period for the employment level for enterprise zone companies should the sponsors agree to that. And so that means that for 2 of their tax years, one of which is already we're in it, and the next one is next year, it allows them a couple of years to get their employment level up and get production up because they were affected by the pandemic and really, frankly, people not going back to work and being in buildings and commercial buildings. So a waiver, and as this Cascade requested, this zone manager, we're bringing in the sponsor, our sponsors to work with these folks a little bit, give them up to 2 years from the 2021 tax year to get their production up. But the law, the waiver goes away after 2022. So if they're not able to get their production up in 2022, or their employment up in 2022, then they lose the exemption. So it's a bit of a reprieve, hoping that the market corrects itself and they get into full production and reach their employment levels, and they go into it with their eyes wide open, knowing that if they're not able to do it next year, then they lose their full exemption. So we're asking the sponsors to work with them a little bit, give them a little bit of time, a little more runway to get their employment level up. That the House Bill 2343.
Paul, could you just recite? We lost you when you talked about asking sponsors. What you're asking Vernonia as a sponsor.
I'm sorry.
Would you just repeat?
Asking the sponsors to approve the resolution. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes. Try it. No.
Here, let me turn the camera off. Maybe that'll help.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay now?
We can hear you just fine. We just lost what you were asking of the sponsors.
How about? I'm going to turn
I think I might be able to touch on
this
this
off
a
and
little
hope
bit.
that. Okay. How about now?
You can try it. No.
Mayor, I can't
Okay, how about
hear
now?
Mr. Vogel.
None of us can, JR.
Do you want me to tell you what the resolution's doing?
How about now?
I've read Mr. Vogel's information. I understand it.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Paul.
Oh, so anything now?
Yeah, it's not very, you're not transmitting, so.
How about if I,
Paul's gonna try to call in again, I guess.
Well, while we're waiting for Paul there, his letter explains it pretty well and what they're trying to do and why they're doing it because of the pandemic and the business and went away from home products like that. So, here he comes.
Now you're getting feedback from you,
Okay,
Dale.
okay, how about now? Can you hear me?
Can hear you okay, Paul.
Okay, I'm off screen, so hopefully you can hear me. I'm sorry this is being so difficult. So what we're asking the sponsors to do is pass a resolution allowing a 2 tax year waiver for the employment, just the employment numbers. The investment's already been made. They're paying wages to some employees hired for these lines, but they just haven't gone to full 21 employees. And allow them a little more runway to get to that 21 new employee level by end of tax year 2022. And the company knows that they will lose their exemption if they don't do that, but they'd like the help. So the resolution authorizes that waiver under the statute established by HB 2343.
Yeah, thank you, Paul. How many employees have been hired there at Cascade now that are working full time?
They're under 200 at this point. This new hire would have put them just over 200. So I think they're 180-ish or something like that.
Okay.
And that is zone wide. That's St. Helens and Scappoose.
They're actually not doing too bad considering.
But they're doing okay. It's with all the hoarding of toilet paper and that sort of thing last year, production slowed down in that regard for a while because people had just warehouses full of it. And that's now starting to pick up a bit. I wish we could get one of their cardboard plants here because cardboard containers, as you well know, are just going crazy with people's consumer behavior has changed. Everybody's buying online and shipping all over the place, and they have cardboard plants. I'd love to get one here.
Right. JR, you had a question? Comment?
I was going to say, I'm good with it. I've read the proposal. So if somebody wants to make a motion, I'm happy with that.
Would you like to make a motion, JR?
I don't have my packet in front of me, unfortunately. I know it was written out. I left it at work, so.
All right. Counselor Webb.
Yeah, I'll move that we adopt resolution number 2021-20, a resolution of the City of Vernonia waiving standard enterprise zone tax abatement employee requirements under Section 3 House Bill 2343 of 2021 for Cascade Tissue Group Oregon Converting, a division of Cascade Holding US Inc. Cascades, located in South Columbia County Enterprise Zone.
Thank you, Counselor Webb. Is there a
Read that by
second?
title only.
I'd like to second that, but I want to make sure Councilor Norman didn't have any questions first.
He's good.
I'll second that motion then.
You call the roll, please, Stephanie?
Counselor Allen,
Aye.
Counselor Norman,
Aye.
Mayor Hobart,
Aye.
Counselor Webb,
Aye.
motion carried.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it. And I apologize for the difficulties.
Thanks for your perseverance and your participation tonight, Paul.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try to do better next time.
Oh, you did fine.
All right, I'll drop off. Thank you very much.
All right. Good night.
Good night.
Resolution 2021-21 declaring Indigenous Peoples Day can be found on page 7 through 8.
Okay, what you have before you today is a resolution brought to you by the Vernonians for Racial Injustice and Equality. Pretty positive that's what they're called. Sorry if I messed that up. Council had previously requested that the committee bring forward a resolution specific to Vernonia. Staff has brought you that resolution and Corey is here to present it. I did want to note that staff has, as we did with other ones, we presented these to other staff members and to city legal. And our recommendation is for council to either adopt it, deny it, or to request that the group come back with a different version. Thank you.
Any discussion or questions? Councilor Webb.
I'll get the ball rolling here. Overall, I don't have an issue with a resolution recognizing our Indigenous peoples. I do have an issue, though, with we seem to be doing away with Columbus Day. Yes, I've read some of the history, and some of the history is it's unsettled. Not everybody's in total agreement. Sounds like Mr. Columbus was not a very nice guy, but it doesn't take away from the fact that he was the person that had the gumption to cross that giant ocean and try to find, well, he thought a new passageway, but he actually found another continent. It still is still an accomplishment. It opened the door for European settlement of this continent, and I understand where the indigenous people don't think that's a very good thing because they got the short end of the stick. But I mean, reality is it was going to happen. If it wasn't, would the Europeans just have sat back and said, "Oh, well, we're not going to come over and colonize this vast land"? Well, maybe the eastern side would have came over. Somebody, it was going to be developed. So I just have a problem with that. We seem to be wanting to do away with Columbus Day, which in Oregon is going to be a real feat because we have one of our historic windstorms that has that name, Columbus Day storm. If we just were to remove that paragraph, I think I'd be fine with this.
My internet is also being slow. Can you folks hear me and see me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
It's about time for me to buy a new computer because all of you are frozen. So I apologize also. Is it okay if I speak or respond? I don't know the protocol here.
Yeah, you're welcome to, Corey.
Okay. So I want to say that I hear you, Dale, and going back to, you know, J.R. Allen was mentioning about the history, and I do think that our history is very important. So I want to first of all say that this is not an attempt to erase anyone's history, but to give a more full and accurate and honest accounting of the history that happened. So at this point, we have a view of Christopher Columbus and history that is doesn't really say much about the Indigenous people who were here and their vast cultures, very diverse cultures. And that seems skewed, I think, to me and to a lot of other people. If you're going to tell a full history of something, then you can't leave out the other half of the story. But also, I think if you're going to, just as, you know, just as a matter of, I don't know what the word is, but if you're going to, you cannot both celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day and Columbus Day hand in hand. If you're going to take the time to honor the Indigenous people who are here, then it is a step in recognizing the harm in the past that was done to Indigenous people. And not only just, you know, not did it stop with Christopher Columbus, but again and again was continued and continued. So if you're going to take the step to recognize Indigenous people, it is not honoring to them in any way to do it alongside Christopher Columbus Day. You would have to be making the choice to set Christopher Columbus Day aside. Now, if I can give you a reason to do that, I would say that it is not in an effort to ignore history or even to erase Christopher Columbus. It is to acknowledge that maybe the Indigenous people who are here had just as much or more of an impact on our current lives than Christopher Columbus actually did. Part of that being that he didn't discover the land that we're currently living in. You know, he discovered far south and far east of here. And the Indigenous people that are here and were here, I mean, we're living in Klatskanee and Kathlamet, and, you know, we're living in lands that are named for these Indigenous people. And so I would offer you that by moving forward with Indigenous Peoples Day, we can teach and educate a more full accounting of history. We can also set in motion what we believe our values are. I put in the resolution that the reason that we would move away from Christopher Columbus is because he did preside over some really terrible things that we as Vernonians don't condone, and we don't do those things. We don't condone those things. Even though the historical record shows that they were done, that's not something that we do, and those aren't values that we want here. But we do appreciate the Indigenous people who are here. So that's what I would say, to just push back on that a little bit, is that yes, Christopher Columbus did what he did, and it was a feat, but there's also another huge portion of that story that we're missing, and that is the Indigenous people story and what they've contributed to us where we live right now, I think is more important than Christopher Columbus. But again, in closing, I would really strongly suggest that you don't try to do both.
Thank you, Corey. Go ahead, JR.
Yeah, well, it is cancel culture. It started in Berkeley, California about 1970. They've been tearing down the statues all over America lately. So it is trying to cancel Christopher Columbus and push Indigenous Peoples Day on the same day. So I don't know how you can say it's not trying to discount the Italian explorer when all you have to do is pick another day. But you're not. Everybody's, a few states are trying to pick Columbus Day because they don't like Columbus. And you want to celebrate Indigenous people, which I'm fine with. But if you want to tell the whole truth, a lot of the Indigenous people, or some of them, were eating each other when Christopher Columbus showed up. Cannibalism, sacrifices, sacrificing children on altars. There was a lot of atrocities that were going on, Indigenous people against Indigenous people. So you can't pick one little thing or two out of a person's life history and get angry at that and just make a villain out of history. If it wasn't for Christopher Columbus opening up the trade to a new world, America probably wouldn't be here, and all the good things America has done for people all over the world. So you can say, yeah, he did a couple bad things, but most of those bad things, I think, were done when he wasn't even there. If you really look into the history of it, sometimes I think he hung some of his own men when he got back and found out what was going on. So did the Queen get angry at him when he brought some slaves back? Yeah, I believe she did. She took away his rule over the land, in fact, over it. But this cancel culture coming out of Berkeley, California, and you know, to be honest with you, it's been a Antifa thing lately to get rid of Christopher Columbus, and it just seems a lot more like Portland, Seattle, Berkeley, California than Vernonia for me. So I asked that Michael to bring back some good information on the tribes, of local tribes here. I see none of that in this writing.
Do you mind
No
if
mention. No mention of the people of the Tillamook, the Clatsop tribe. You know, I was hoping to get some real good information, but I didn't get any of that. I'm sorry.
The Tillamook did not live here, Councilor Allen. Part of that would be a land acknowledgement, which would be separate from an Indigenous Peoples Day resolution.
Well, I know they didn't live here, Michael. They lived in their area close to here. No Indians probably lived in Vernonia. It was Apache Woods. They might have had one or two come up the river once in a while, but you see where I'm going there. I was hoping to get some real information about the local tribes here, and it turned into a hate toward Christopher Columbus 400 years ago. That's the way I read this. It just turned into kind of a bashing on Christopher Columbus, wanting to take his day away and replace it with this Indigenous Peoples Day. That's all I have to say.
So Councilor Allen, if I can respond to that, I understand what you're saying. I see that, I hear what you're saying, and I do think that I don't like the term or the idea of cancel culture, but I do like and appreciate the idea that as a people, if we see something if we learn something new, that we can change course, that if we see something that we don't like, that it doesn't have to be that way forever, just because tradition says that it has to be that way. So when I say that we're not trying to erase Christopher Columbus, what I mean is we can still talk about what he did, but in the full context of what he did. And when you're thinking about who do I want to honor and take the time to lift up and educate about, for me, it's not Christopher Columbus. I don't think that his voyage was all that particularly special, given that he didn't find what he wanted to find, given that we have additional information showing that other Viking tribes actually found North America long before he did. But really, all of that can be boiled down to like fighting by historians. For me, it comes down to here in Vernonia, where we actually are, there are Indigenous people all around us, and we didn't put anything specific about the tribes in this, like Michael said, because there is some evidence to suggest that tribes lived here or passed through here. We think it's the Clatskanie tribe, but we need to do much deeper digging, and it requires getting in touch with the tribes, which Michael tried to do, but that's a slower process. So we didn't want to state anything that wasn't accurate in regards to the history of the tribes that lived here. So it is something I wanted to let you know, that we took that seriously, and that is something I would like to find out, but we didn't want to say anything that was inaccurate, because it needs some more time devoted to this. So what I was going to suggest is that if the council decided to adopt Indigenous Peoples Day, perhaps in 1 year, we could take the time to research, and then on the first Indigenous Peoples Day celebration, we could have a presentation about the tribes that were here, just because it's going to take a lot more time than a couple weeks to get it right.
Well, Corey, as far as I know, it's still a federal holiday, and a Democratic president, FDR, put it into place. So kind of like, who am I to get rid of Christopher Columbus Day? Just an opinion, you know. No, but there's nothing stopping someone from celebrating every day as Indigenous Peoples Day if they wish to. So kind of just because I say yes doesn't change the federal holiday on the second Monday of the October.
I believe that it was recently changed, was it not?
They had a
I
proclamation.
know Oregon may have. Alaska has. I think Colorado recently rejected that. New Mexico. A few states have. California probably.
Well, the only other thing I would say, again, I guess I'll say this. So first of all, it is a draft, because I want to apologize. I'm recovering from a wisdom tooth extraction, and I've been kind of struggling this last week and last 2 weeks. So this is a draft, and this is something that we can work on together. This isn't an end all be all. We did take language straight from other resolutions that folks around us have done, because this, unlike the last resolution that we worked with you on, this one seems to be a little bit more boilerplate, but it's definitely not set in stone. The only thing that I feel very strongly about, and I think Verge feels very strongly about, is that we can't do both. And the reason for this is that we are trying to listen to the Indigenous people, the tribes. The tribal folks themselves are saying that Christopher Columbus to them is a very painful figure, and it's not something that can go hand in hand. And so that's something that I want to honor for them. So
to answer your question, Dale, I just did a brief Google search. Columbus Day is still a federal holiday, and there are a list of, I think, 10 states that now recognize Indigenous Peoples Day instead of Columbus Day. However, Oregon celebrates both Columbus Day and Native American Day. But I don't have the actual document in front of me, just a brief description.
Go ahead, Dale.
So I guess I disagree with you, Corey, on the significance of the voyage. I mean, you know, people were telling him he was going to fall off the edge of the earth. So to get the bravery, the gumption to, and I think he tried for 3 years to get the funding to to make that first voyage, going into the unknown. I mean, it's just very few people want to take on a challenge like that. Eventually, it would happen. I mean, as soon as our vessels were getting better and better, technology was getting better, somebody would have done it eventually, or accidentally, or Asia would have beat us to it. So, um, I know you talked about the local indigenous people, and I guess I'm having a disconnect. Christopher Columbus had no impact on the local indigenous people other than the Europeans settled North America. Um, it's a reality. I mean, yeah, and there's been atrocities all through since we settled. So it isn't just Christopher Columbus,
No.
Our forefathers all along, there's been a lot of atrocities. Um, I think you just, by having both of these, it opens that discussion. I mean, I just, and to me, and back to JR's point, it does look like they're trying to cancel Columbus Day because they picked the same day. I mean, it could very easily been one more week later. I don't know if there's a holiday there or not, but it could have very easily been a different day. But no, we're making the attempt. It's going to be the same day. You get rid of Columbus Day, so it is canceling. You can't disguise that. I just, it's part of our history. Like JR said, who are we to sit here and try to rewrite the history? We should learn from that history. What would we tell our kids if there's no longer a Columbus Day? How did the Europeans get to North America? I mean, how did that happen?
I guess again, that's where I totally would want the whole picture to be discussed and educated on. But when I think of a holiday, I think of it as, who do we highlight? Who do we put center stage and highlight? And I don't know, perhaps it's a generational thing. When I was growing up, I just was never that much impressed with Christopher Columbus. But I do understand that a voyage, it takes a lot of courage and a lot of guts. And one thing that I will always advocate for is the education of the whole picture. So for me, that's more of what it's about, is that we can certainly talk about Christopher Columbus and what he did and how he opened the gateway for European settlers to come. But I think it's also very important to talk about the impact that was felt in this continent because of his coming, and it wasn't all good. And I think we owe it to ourselves and to Indigenous people to just be honest about the whole thing and the full context of it. The part that I would really like to get to is that educational component where we learn about the tribes that were here. And yeah, that's the part that I would really like to get to. And, like I said, this is a draft. If you want us to work on it, we certainly can. And in the end, if you want to have both Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day, you can certainly vote to do that. I'm just cautioning you that Indigenous tribal people may not be particularly ecstatic to hear that or to work with us. And that is something that I would like to do, is have a good partnership with them, because really, if we could get them on board to come and help tell their story and educate us about their history, that would really be the best for me personally. So I'm just looking ahead with that component. But one way or the other, I appreciate all of you thinking about it and discussing it with us here tonight. And I understand how you're saying it feels and looks like cancel culture. I just have a different view of this general idea. I don't see it as cancellation because I don't want to stop talking about Christopher Columbus. I just don't want him to be the highlight or the focus. I want there to be a broader contextual picture. That's all.
So is it a, go ahead, JR. Yeah.
Oh, finish your thought, Dale.
Well, so the second Monday of October, I understand this is a national movement, but I mean, are you totally tied into that date? I mean, is that because of the national movement, or are you open to a different date?
I think it would be because of the national movement. I think it would be very disjointed and confusing for us to have an Indigenous Peoples Day on a totally different day than the rest of, than the national movement. I think that would get kind of confusing and, like I said, disjointed. That's my feeling personally.
Go ahead, JR.
Corey, are you part of some kind of a political organization, or you talk about national movement and wanting to do the same thing they do? So I'm just wondering if this is coming from local Vernonia, or are you some part of an organization?
So when I was mentioning the national movement, that was just in response to what Dale just said. I live in Vernonia, and I lived here for about 6 years. Yeah, November marks 6 years. And the groups that I am associated with are, I work for the Upper Nehalem Watershed Council, and then I also am a founding member of the Verge group, which is Vernonia Equality and Racial Justice. But that group, Verge, we strive to be apolitical. We're not, trying to get on one side or the other, Republican or Democrat, because part of what we really believe is that these issues that we care about, we believe people on all sides of the aisle can and do care about these issues. So we strive to be apolitical.
The latest poll I read said 58% of Americans want Columbus Day to stay. 70% of college students want to go.
Corey, can you tell me what VERGE stands for again?
Yes, it stands for Vernonia Equality and Racial Justice.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I had it right in here.
And Corey, you mentioned you wanted to have a discussion about Columbus Day and the facts and stuff. It seems like you should be at the school, because they gloss over it. I was in school, and how Columbus cruised across and discovered America and all that stuff, it was pretty glossed over. So maybe you should go to the school and have him teach in an in-depth account of it, and look at his diaries. I've read excerpts from his diary where he has stated he wanted the Indigenous people treated well because he knew he needed them to some extent. So, it's in his diary. Did he do some things that were probably wrong from what we think today? Yeah, but 400 years ago, just about everybody did something that we would disagree with today. Heck, in 1970, we were all doing stuff we disagree with today. We're smoking in the cars with our kids. So, if you really don't want to cancel Christopher Columbus, you have Christopher Columbus Day on one day with a real education on it in school. And the next day or a week later, you have Indigenous Peoples Day, and a talk about the cause and effect. Because I kind of see the correlation where they want to blame somebody that landed in South America that was never in America for America's problems because it said opened up the new world. Well, like Councilor Webb says, it would have got found by somebody, which you said it was found by somebody before that. So his name was Felique or whatever it was. They could blame him too, but they're not. They're blaming Christopher Columbus that was given a national holiday by a Democratic president, FDR. So, if you can blame Christopher Columbus for the bad things, then you have to get him for the good things America's done, because we're the best darn country on earth, period. We've done more to help people around the world than any other country. So you could say without Christopher Columbus, none of that help would have happened. So maybe we should give him 2 days. I don't know. Once you start digging into it, you can find bad and good on just about everything. We got presidents that own slaves. No one's, no one's saying we should wipe out that George Washington was the president or whatever,
So I'll say, just to back up a little bit, you mentioned going into the schools, and Verge is working with the schools to work on curriculum. And just as like a general note about Verge, we are a community, we are just a volunteer run organization, and we don't really have any money. So if you've ever seen that Venn diagram where you can have things cheap or good or fast, but you can't have all three, we want to be good and we have to be cheap. So we're real slow about everything we do. And that includes working with the schools, and that includes our biased reporting system, which we're still working on. We're very slow moving, but that is something that we would love to do, is have presentations in the school, or some way to work with the school to have that full education about the subject. So that is something we're working on, and at some point we'll get there. I will say though that we're saying a lot about like Christopher Columbus shouldn't be given the weight of all of United States' issues and problems, but maybe he should receive credit for all the good. I don't think that he can receive full weight or full credit for either thing. I think that he was a man 400 years ago, and he went on an awesome expedition, and then at some point he presided over some pretty brutal stuff. And for me, my focus is on here and now. And I do think that the United States is a really awesome country. But one of the things that is dear to my heart and what makes it awesome is that we right here and now can take steps forward to make it a more perfect union. And for me, that's what it's all about. I hear people in our Indigenous community saying like, look, this is harmful to us, and we are part of, we are the most United States you can ever get. We were here, we're Native. And I think, what does it hurt us? What does it harm us to move forward and to better ourselves? Someone in the past thought that it was good to better ourselves by elevating Christopher Columbus. I think it's do you one better, elevate ourselves even further, and celebrate Indigenous people. It isn't so much about canceling or blocking out information. It's about changing the highlight to bring us into a more perfect union. That is really what it's all about for me. So, and I think the other folks of Verge would agree with that, is that at our very core, we want Vernonia to continue being awesome, and we're just looking for all the ways that we can continue that work, because it never stops. You never actually reach perfection, just like my laundry pile. You never actually get there, guys. You just have to keep working on it. So if when and if you read this resolution, just keep that in mind, that that's actually at the heart of what we're trying to do, is make a more perfect union.
Well, I had some audio issues. I think I heard most of what you said, Corey. I think we're going to have some disagreements on canceling out Christopher Columbus. So if you can want to bring back and make it another day, I have nothing against Native people or Indigenous people. I think it's pretty awesome that they could survive without Safeway and all that. So I just don't think it's necessary to try to hide history. You talk about education, the way you can educate is not hide history. You have to let it all out there, the good, bad, and the ugly. So I think your idea of going to the schools, and if you can prove the history is wrong that they're teaching, I think that's a better direction to go.
Could I ask if again, if you still want to consider this, would you consider doing it on the same day? That was something you had mentioned before. Just
I would not.
both on the same day.
I would not.
Yeah, I think I'm against it too, because I think as hard as we try to work around it, the national movement is to try to cancel out Columbus Day by having the Indigenous Day on the same day. I mean, we're not blind to that. So
I'm the mayor. I'm not in favor of having it on the same day either. I've learned over the years, almost 71 now, that my past failures in life and that I've corrected, it's important for me to try to make myself a better person, a better citizen, by not shutting the door on the past and to taking each day ahead, one at a time. I understand what you're saying, Corey. I think as a nation, we've come a long, long way from when Columbus discovered America and when he maybe was involved in some of the things that he probably wasn't very proud of. But we've changed, and I think we're doing really good, especially here in Vernonia. And I love this little town. And if I see somebody doing something wrong, I'll just go to them and confront that person and ask them why. But I'm totally against shutting the door on the past. I'd like to keep Columbus Day as a part of history. It is part of history. So that's my feeling on it. But I'm open for you to do some more work on this resolution. I'm not closed-minded for that. So you guys did some really good work in the first resolution last year you brought with us. And so we looked at it and we adopted it. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for discussing it with us. And I will say that resolution had the benefit of having multiple parties, having 10 people work on it together. And I think that's really valuable.
I do too. Thank you for being a part of this tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll be back.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
You ready to move on, Stephanie? Is there any correspondence? Is there a city administrator report?
Not officially, but I can give you guys a couple updates if you want. Hold on, Angie's muted.
Okay, Angie.
Yeah, we don't have a report or anything, but I can give you a few updates on some stuff that's happened since Joseph's been gone. So at a previous meeting, you guys approved an increase in the amount to spend on a truck for the facilities maintenance person, correct? So we picked one up last week. So we've got a new little F1, well, it's not brand new, F-150 for the maintenance guy to use for the cemetery and then for all the other stuff he's working on. The Flagpole Cemetery was installed on Friday with the help of West Oregon. So that is up. West Oregon also gave us a couple of poles that they had that the guys took down to the public works shop, and Jeff is going to check those to see if they will work for the reader board. So we've been waiting on that because we've been looking for the right kind of poles to mount it to. So hopefully those will work. And then the only other thing is, you guys probably know because of wasn't it the workshop last week, the leak? Roof? Oh, yeah. Yeah. So the leak in the roof, Mitch went up and checked it out. There's actually a hole. The sheeting has completely rotted away. So he's got a temporary fix on it for now, but I'm going to be calling to get bids. I had actually one guy come look at it today to see if we can repair it or if we're going to be looking at total replacement. So.
Ouch.
Yeah. That's why we've been sticking money in that facilities reserve, is because we knew this was coming at some point. So that's all that's happened so far.
I think I put the curse on us. I was the one, that roof's gonna go.
Yeah, she's going.
Yeah.
Was that about 20 years old now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost
So
20.
library was built the same time, wasn't it?
Yep.
Ouch.
Boy, if JR hadn't asked for an easel, it would have still been leaking.
Probably. The easel we didn't use.
Mitch pretty happy with his F-150?
Oh, he loves it.
Good.
He loves it.
Well, I'd suggest somebody get up in the attic of the library too and snoop around, because built the
Well,
same time.
They've been up there several times over the last few years because she's had issues with her furnace. But it's probably been about a year. So yeah, I could definitely have him go up there and poke around.
I mean, hate to say it, but probably get a little price break if you're doing two roofs at the same time. I don't know if we can afford it, but but you know, it's not going to probably be far behind. Depends on what you guys find on the city hall. It might be just an isolated case where we've had a minor leak that took out a panel up there. But
well, it's in the valley, so, and it's back there on that backside where all those trees are. So.
Oh yeah, leaves.
Mm-hmm.
The gutter's been cleaned out?
Yep.
Okay.
That got done a few weeks ago.
If they're plugged up, the roof will leak.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything about from Martin Glass about the windows?
Yeah, we got a bid. I just forwarded it over to the DA through Eva. Got it in here somewhere. There we go. They're looking at about $4,100 just to replace the glass and rather than the entire windows.
Oh, and that's in all 9?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's not so bad. But insurance will pay for that anyway, so.
Good. Okay, anything other for questions for Angie?
Where are we at on the rock for the lake, Angie? Are you in the loop on that?
I know that Josette had wanted to give Jeff and his guys a chance to get what they were doing finished up before they brought the rock in, just so that they weren't driving their muddy trucks over it. He's back in the morning, so I'll check in with him and ask him where we're at with that.
Okay, just a heads up. They're going to have to probably barricade that, or you're going to have a car parked right in the middle of, he's going to show up with rock and it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
So make sure we get ahead on that.
Yeah.
I was down there early the other morning and there was already somebody parked there. So.
Okay, thank you, Angie.
Yep.
Items from the mayor or councilors. Any councilors have any issues or discussion they want to talk about?
I got one.
Go ahead, JR.
I did notice, and speaking of the lake, I was down there after dark and all the lights are out except for one around the lake. And I don't know if that's been reported to the city or.
No, Susie hasn't said anything.
When was that, JR?
I was down there, last Wednesday or Thursday or something, walking the dog. It got dark and there's a light on clockwise from the snack shack, the first one, and the rest of them were all out. It was well after dark.
That's the one closest to the snack shack runs off the restroom. The other three are off the pump. Susie said something to me. We have power outages or whatever. I looked at it the other day that it was behind. The timer was behind like an hour and a half, 2 hours. So I readjusted it. So we'll see if that takes care of it.
Oh,
I can ask Susie.
well, it wasn't too long. It wasn't too long after dark, but yeah, okay. So it runs off the pump?
Most of the lights run off of that housing there at the pump station.
Oh, so it goes to there and then to the lights?
Yeah, and then just that one runs off of the restroom building. It's kind of an odd setup.
Oh, is there a timer on that one too?
Evidently, I don't know. I don't go in that one.
They were on Friday at about 6:15.
Yeah, I think I set it for about 5:30 to come on, because then we're going to be taking the time change here shortly. So. But yeah, like I said, anytime we have a power outage, well, then the timer stops and it gets behind. So it's always a constant struggle with it.
There was a couple bumps last week when the power just flicked off. Anything else?
Yeah, while we're talking the pumps, we thought we had a drive out. We'd been down for a couple of months there. It was the number 2 pump. And Josette called me. They'd got a new drive and needed somebody to let the electrician in the cabinet. And so I went down and we opened up the door and the drive actually had a display on it this time and it showed a fault. So we ended up resetting it, and it hadn't been doing that. It was a just backlit screen with no graphics at all on it before. It was blank. And so anyhow, yeah, I think those power bumps that Rick was talking about might had something to do with it. And anyhow, so we reset it and it started right up. So we didn't need the new drive, but I think we're going to just hang on to it. Probably good to have the spare. We got 3 of them in that cabinet. So we got the 3 pumps back up and going, but we ended up having another problem. Sean, we weren't getting much water, and anyhow, so we went down on Saturday. I took my UTV down there. We had to have a winch to winch them up out of their sitting down and the inlets are sitting in the muck, all the leaves and sediment. You couldn't pull them by hand. And person would hurt your back. So anyhow, we got them all pulled up, cleaned out, and everything going. And we're not quite 100% for some reason. It looks like we've lost a little bit of pumping capacity on pumps 1 and 3, but we're probably about 90%. So anyhow, we're going to try to get it filled up here, the lake, and then get those the screens pulled off and get them out of there. So take a week or two.
Thank you, Dale, for the work you do down there again.
Yeah.
Well, Sean's doing a lot of it now. So.
Have you seen that electrical
Took the
wire
load
down
off
there
of
by the river poking up?
What's that?
Speaking of that pump, Dale, there's an electrical underground wire sticking up about 6 inches with 4 or 5 wires in it down right by the water down there. I'm sure it's probably just an old wiring, but looks kind of funny sticking up down there by the water.
Oh wow, I didn't notice it. Oh, next time I'm down there, where's it at exactly from?
Oh, just walk down there onto that gravel bed below close to the river and look to your left, and it's kind of got a white clear type casing for an underground burial, and it's sticking up about 4 inches, maybe 2 or 3 feet from the water.
Okay,
Maybe it was an old pump
I'll take a
wire.
look.
I don't know.
Must be some remnant from old installation.
Yeah, not ancient looking, but different looking.
Okay, any other discussion? Action item summary, Stephanie.
I'll have to look back in a minute to see what that is.
Okay.
I think we're just bringing a report regarding the sidewalk request.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
A little better.
Okay. I think the only thing that I recall is that staff's going to bring a report regarding the frontage improvement request from Milstein.
I didn't catch all that.
No.
I'll look back in a minute.
So the museum, we wanted you to move forward with the museum
Right.
investigation.
And then, Stephanie, do we have any other workshops this week, or the next meeting's the 15th then? And that's it for November?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, well, if there's nothing else, I'll adjourn the meeting at 8:30 p.m. Meeting adjourned. Good night. Thanks for all the participation tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.